photographers from the crashed Asiana plane in San Francisco show the pilots tried to abort the landing right before impact. But what do we actually know about what happened here? Well, Bloomberg West editor-at-large Corey Johnson takes us inside.
Asiana Flight 214 began in Shanghai at about 3 p.m. local time. A contingent of 60 Chinese students and 10 teachers were among those boarding on their way to San Francisco for a summer camp. The plane stopped in Seoul to take on more passengers, and at 5:04 began its 10-hour, 20-minute flight to San Francisco International Airport. The flight was typical of the dozens of non-stops from Seoul to San Francisco, which fly every week. The Boeing 777 was one of the newer planes in the Asiana fleet, one of the 12 777s purchased in 2006. And while some carriers choose to cram the 777 with as many as 365 seats, this Asiana flight was near capacity with just 307 people, 291 passengers, 16 crew. As the plane approached San Francisco, the sky was remarkably clear, fog-free with just a 6 to 7 knot wind. The San Francisco tower told pilots that visual flight rules were in effect. In other words, pilots could guide themselves to the runway without the assistance of instruments or air traffic control. But in the last moments of the approach to San Francisco International, there were clues that something wasn't quite right. Look at this flight path from the previous day's Asiana Flight 214. Data from FlightAware shows the safe approach, a steady, straight decline, culminating in a safe landing well onto the runway. Now look at the actual flight path of Saturday's Asiana Flight 214. The plane comes in much steeper, and then you can see the pilot try to jack the plane out of its descent. Listen to this audio recording of Asiana 214's communications with the tower. 7 seconds before impact, the tower tells them to increase speed. Someone says, "Go around." The loud banging sound. Then air traffic control warning other planes to avoid the runway. Coming in too slow and too low, the tail slammed into the seawall short of the runway, snapping off and sending the plane spiraling down the tarmac. The fatalities, 2 16-year-old Chinese girls. And as the fire department raced on the scene 7 minutes after the crash, they found smoldering ruins of the massive 777. Lying on the tarmac, dozens of passengers who jumped from the plane before the evacuation chutes deployed, some taking shelter in the frigid waters of the San Francisco Bay. Dozens more ran from the burning plane, debris and luggage strewn on the runway. All told, 182 survivors were rushed to local hospitals, a number in critical condition. Silicon Valley-based Samsung executive David Yoon raced off the plane and snapped this picture, which spread rapid fire on Path and Twitter. Wrote Yoon, "I just crash landed at SFO, tail ripped off. Most everyone seems fine. I'm okay. Surreal. At Fly SFO." Yes, in the midst of the smoldering wreckage, Yoon used the correct, if horribly ironic, SFO Twitter handle, Fly SFO.
Well, I want to bring in Corey Johnson now, who is live at San Francisco's International Airport. And Corey, officials investigating this disaster, they say the plane, as you were mentioning, was going far too slow for a safe landing. You've flown flight simulators before. How would the crew know or be able to tell exactly that it was coming in too slow?
Well, so there's a lot to be learned yet, and the NTSB has warned us not to jump to conclusions. But they did tell us that the plane was going a lot slower even than the plane reported it was going. But as they approached the runway, there are all kinds of warnings that could have gone off. They could have looked at the windows of the plane and seen the lights that indicate the correct height that a plane has to be as it approaches the runway. When they're below that height, the lights are red. When they're above it, the lights are white. Furthermore, within the cockpit, certain warnings went off with something called a stick shaker, where the throttle literally shakes and makes a loud noise. But at that point, it was too late, and they couldn't arrest the descent of the plane because they were going so slow and hitting that seawall, spinning out of control.